branches. You ever drive by the yard out there on Roosevelt Avenue? It must be like.
Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, June 18th, 2026. This is a Commissioners' regular meeting, and we're live in City Hall Commissioners' Room, second floor. I'd like to call this meeting to order at exactly 2:00 p.m. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll let the record show that the mayor and the full complement of commissioners are present. Therefore, we can formally conduct business today. I'd also like to recognize City Secretary Ann Womack is here, and City Manager Taylor Tedder, City Solicitor Lisa Ogden, and others as we get to them. Want to remind everybody that I'd like to thank those that are watching virtually and also thank those that are here in person. We welcome comments, of course, for those that are here in person per rules at the bottom of the agenda. I also want to remind everybody that support documents, those are documents that support individual agenda items, are embedded in the agenda so that you can take a look at exactly what we're working from up here. With that, we'll move on to correspondence related to agenda items. We received one that is embedded into the agenda electronically. You can access it from your computer. With that, we'll move on to approval of minutes. We have 5 sets of minutes in front of us. Are there any corrections to those 5 sets of minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the 5 set of minutes in front of us.
I'll make a motion to approve the sets of minutes, the executive session on May 15th, 2026, the executive session on June 8th, 2026, regular meeting held on January 19th, 2024, regular meeting held on May 15th, 2026. Lastly, special meeting held on January 9th, 2024.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the 5 sets of minutes in front of us. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving the 5 sets of minutes before us signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the minutes before us are approved unanimously. With that, we'll move on to the city manager's report. Taylor?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. We appreciate everyone adjusting their schedules to meet on a Thursday instead of a Friday, as tomorrow's city offices will be closed in honor of Juneteenth. In the meantime, if you are on our media and employee distribution list, or if you've opened Beyond the Beach that was sent out before this meeting, you'll have seen a lot of information and details about our upcoming Charrette Week. It's just a month away, beginning on July 13th and running through the 18th. As we have presented before, the City of Rehoboth Beach has partnered with Dover Cole & Partners for a zoning code update, which is necessary to make civic improvements that solve problems and enhance the features and community activities of Rehoboth Beach. One crucial element to this process is a chance for community involvement in our Charrette Week, which will be held at the Convention Center throughout the week of July 13th through 17th. A charrette is a meeting in which stakeholders in a project attempt to resolve conflicts and map out solutions. The Charrette Week is all about gathering input from the people who care about Rehoboth Beach, residents, business owners, property owners, visitors, or anyone interested in the city's future. Please refer to Beyond the Beach or our website, where there is a specific page that contains everything, an updated schedule for the whole week, FAQs, and our press release. It's under the Government tab, and then you'll see this Charrette Week subheading. So we are very excited and hope to get as much participation and input from the public and stakeholders as we can. And please note that attendance is not mandatory or binding. There's no RSVP or sign up. Just come and go as you please for any or all of the sessions. Also, in Beyond the Beach, there was some discussion in our last meeting about the new gator bags that have been installed on some trees by Lake Girard and on Munson Street. Those are to help with the watering efforts of the trees and are maintained by city staff. However, if you are close to one of the bags and have a hose that can reach it, you are more than welcome to fill it up. It's not necessary, but any assistance is greatly appreciated as we try to keep our trees as healthy as possible. And that concludes my report for this afternoon.
Any questions of the city manager? Commissioner Good?
Thank you. As a follow-up, because I've gone around and looked at the trees with those like bladder bags on the east side of Lake Girard, and I've heard from a woman who has served our city on the tree committee and is much more knowledgeable about trees than I am, due to the acute need for watering the first year or two. I'm very concerned. I went over there, I think 2 days ago. Half of the bladder bags are empty. Any homes that you're calling on to try to water these trees, they would need a super long hose to reach. And I understand we're feeling, even though we have a tanker trailer, like a trailer that has a tank on top of it, we're somehow short on personnel. But just, I'm thinking, because the tree mitigation funds can be used both for purchasing trees, planting them, and for maintenance, would some thought be given to city employees, maybe under Mr. Matlos, who are willing to work Sunday mornings and or evenings or very early mornings? We could pay them from the tree mitigation funds to operate this tanker, because trees in the past have been planted with those funds and promptly died. So I want to avoid, like, if we're trying to grow the tree canopy, we're not, doing what we can to advance that agenda. For, like, we're Tree City USA, I want to do better.
Mayor, if I could, please.
Are you finished?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Thier?
So I'll start this and I'll just let Taylor finish, because he and I have been having a conversation over the last couple of days, right? So out of kind of the Environmental Advisory Committee, there's some volunteers who have stepped up to be willing to go out and fill these water bags on a regular basis. Mr. Lilly is going to provide a hose, a very long hose. I believe he's working on getting that. So we're going to try, I don't want to say try, but we're going to make a really good effort to have volunteers go out there, make sure those water bags are filled. What we're hearing from Mike is they need to be checked probably at least 2 or 3 times a week this time of year. And my hope is from this, as we go through our biannual plantings, which are in the spring and in the fall, this same group of individuals or additional individuals as needed, this is really a season. I don't want to say it's a totally seasonal need, but there is certainly a seasonal demand. We can have some volunteers step up and go fill these bags. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, but I wanted to just mention that because you and I have been talking about that for about 2 days now. Thanks.
Yeah, I think you covered it well, but we are working
follow up on that?
on making sure that the bags are filled. Yeah.
Could I follow up that, Mr.
Commissioner
Mayor?
Good, go ahead.
I mean, I know in the past that's been a plan, and I even know homeowners, I mean, when it's almost $30 for every 1,000 gallons of water. You'd be surprised how frugal they are when the city asks them to be the ones to contribute water for trees in the public right of way. I hear your plan. I know that's been sort of used in an informal way in the past. I think it's worth trying to use some of the tree mitigation funds to pay people, and it would be overtime pay, like Sunday morning and evenings and early mornings. But, so that's just, I'd like to put it out there that I'm not that confident in this volunteer plan because of the ways it hasn't really worked all that well in the past.
Thank you, Suzanne. Anybody else? All right. If not, you have anything else, Taylor?
No, sir.
All righty. City Solicitor's report, Lisa?
No report, Mayor.
All righty. With that, we'll go to department reports. You'll notice that from the agenda, the Alderman Court report, Building and Licensing, and Police Department reports are all embedded electronically in your agenda, so we don't need to go over them. You can access them individually. With that, we'll move on to a departmental briefing. This month, it's Human Resources Department. And if you would introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Jean Hendershot-Lee. I'm the HR Director for the City of Rehoboth.
Thank you, Jean.
So just my report's going to be fairly quick. We don't have many changes going on. For our staffing levels, we have a couple open positions. In Streets Department, we have 2 open positions. One was a retiree and one was a unfortunate loss. And then in wastewater, we have 2 openings. We had someone retire and someone that got a supervisory role at another municipality, so he jumped on that. So streets, we're not going to fill until after the summer. We have seasonals that work there, and we always hope to promote up through streets, so those we'll look at the end of the year. In wastewater, we filled one of those positions with a temp who's been working out well. After his certain amount of time contracted, we can keep him on full-time if we choose, or if not, we can look to hire an employee or another temp. The other position, we're looking at that position thoroughly before we hire that one, just to make sure we hire what we are really looking for, since there's been so many changes in wastewater over the last few years. We also have an opening in building and grounds for a cleaning employee that we're still working on. We thought we had someone, but unfortunately that fell through, so we are back to square one on that one. Seasonal hirings, we filled all of our positions. We had 1 beach patrol position we were waiting on, but they should be putting in an application soon. That's a returning beach patrol, so that will be filled. And we all filled everything for seasonals, which is really amazing. Other than that, one thing that I'm working on is we're looking in the code at physicals. Right now, every single employee that starts with the city has to take a physical, whether you're just sitting behind a desk or if you're actually out on the road, and it's the same physical, unless you're a CDL driver. So we're taking a look at that. We're going to eliminate some physicals that we don't need to be paying for, and then we're also going to make the ones that we do need job-specific physicals. And we're working with Pivot PT on getting those physicals. And that's all I have, unless you have questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the commissioners? Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is board and commission reports. The Planning Commission report is embedded electronically in the agenda. Moving on, the next item, 10, is committee reports, including possible consideration of approving future advisory committee agenda topics. Would like to make mention that as we soon offer opportunities for public comment, please wait to be acknowledged by the chair and given the floor. When a member of the public is recognized, then please come to the center microphone, state your name and address or relationship to the city, and direct your remarks to the board, not to any other individuals. Everyone gets 3 minutes. There's a countdown clock up here. It beeps when your time is up, so please keep an eye on it, and we appreciate that in advance. With that, we're going to move on to the chair of the Streets and Safety Advisory Committee, Mark Saunders, and you have an embedded support document.
I do. Good afternoon, everybody. First, I need to apologize for my voice. I may not get through all 6 of these. I'm fine, but I woke up with a cold this morning, and it's affecting my ability to talk. Excuse me. I just want to start by saying again, our committee has been active and working, and we realize that one of our objectives is to listen to the public and to get input from the public on various safety items. We've been doing that, and we've had numerous members of the public contact us on other topics that they would like us to take up. So today I want to present to you 5 of these possible topics that we would like permission or like the okay from this board to commence holding hearings on, putting it out to the public, getting some input, having conversations among ourselves, and of course, as always, involving the staff here as well. And I would just go over these pretty quickly. They are embedded. Is it possible to put these up on the board? Maybe people can follow along. There we go. There we go. Going through number 1 to 6, excuse me. We've had several people point out to us that when they're walking along the streets of our city, a lot of our street poles, our electric poles, our utility poles, have loose wires, dead wires, old wires, wires that were probably never really wires. And number 1, it looks difficult. It looks somewhat ugly. But more importantly, it's somewhat dangerous. People have mentioned to us how they get their bicycles caught on them, how they trip over them. Some of them are actually on the sidewalks on the streets. So we would like, item number one, we would like permission to have conversations with those that are responsible for the utilities, whether it be the electric company, Comcast, or whoever, and see if we might somehow clean up those, particularly those that are on street level. Number two, we've also had some concerns about oversized vehicles and vehicles that have trailers attached. And several members of the community have pointed out to us examples whereby somebody may park their car in a regular space, but they have a trailer attached, and that trailer goes out over somebody's driveway. We've had other cases where they're actually blocking the intersections, and we've had other cases where they've disrupted traffic because the trailer is longer than it should be. So we would like to open up some discussions about oversized vehicles, where they should go, what we can do about them, what we can make available for them, and again, working with the police chief, and see how we can maybe remedy that situation a little bit. We'd like to talk a little bit about the bollards. You know, when the bollards were first placed, we got a number of people that commented on that they were not particularly pretty, that they weren't aesthetically pleasing, yada, yada, yada. So we thought that perhaps we could enter into some sort of a relationship with the community, with Main Street perhaps, kids from the elementary school or whatever, and come up with some way to better make the bollards part of the community, whether it be decorate them, some sort of a contest. There are all sorts of covers that are available for very low cost. There are wraps that can be done. There's a number of things, and Jennifer Duncan on our committee had done a little bit of research and sent me some items where we can just make them look more cheerful. We can make them look seasonal. We can make them into candy canes at Christmas time. We can make them into Easter eggs at Easter time. We can do lots of things involving the community. Main Street is interested in working with us on that. So we have no ideas right now, but we'd like to be able to bring to you some ideas in the future. Four-way stops, more four-way stops. It's been brought to our attention that the four-way stops would really be a huge asset, particularly in our commercial areas, on First Street, First in Maryland, all the way out to First in Olive. There are some situations where you just go there and you see people not knowing if they're supposed to stop, people crossing and so forth. So we'd like to open up the conversation of possibly making those two-way stops into four-way stops. And then we'd like to continue the discussions, and Evan's been great about this, keeping us going on the discussions of beach mats on the beach. As you know, we have a wonderful situation, we have a wonderful program of mats that you can walk on. But for people that are using wheelchairs, once they walk on them, then they're dropped into the sand. So we would like to make some sort of situation where maybe some of those mats ended with something that may have some depth to it, maybe a 20 by 20 or 10 by 20 or something, where the person using the chair could park the chair, and yet their people with them, their community members, people that are enjoying the beach with them, could sit beside them or next to them or whatever on the beach. So I know Evan's been doing a lot of work on this, but we would like to be able to open it up to the public and get some public ideas into that. We would need your okay to make that an official topic. So those are the topics that we have to ask for, and if there's no objection, I would take questions and be happy to make it a motion to take them all as one, unless anybody wants to take any of them out.
Thank you, Mark. Well, the whole purpose of this, putting in front of the commissioners so you can get feedback, so that you aren't blindsided by negativity down the road or whatever. So I do want to share a couple of my ideas with, and again, how we'll approach this is, I don't even know that we need a formal vote, but we can get a consensus of what goes forward, and majority wins. In terms of the number one, I would favor, rather than the committee working directly with the public utility, that these ideas be floated to the city manager so that he can be the direct contact with the public utility. So again, I favor that and getting something done, but it's kind of the methodology there. In terms of public's concern with oversized vehicles, I'm fine with that. I just look forward to it being identified or defined on what is oversized and what the problem is, obviously. The bollards, honestly, I'm fine with them. You know, people's indicated before that, oh, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb and everything. And yet, since they've been installed, all I've heard is they're pretty nondescript, you know. So I'm a little leery about personalizing and doing some of that because that'll make them less nondescript. So that one is, I'm hesitant to do anything for at least several years, I guess. The additional four-way stops, I understand, talking with you, that you've got a few on mind, and you've got some other locations that you want to throw in there. I think that's fine. And then the beach mats, Evan has met with you, and I'm fine with that. But I think there has to be a realization, at least there is for me, that these mats are very expensive and require a lot of maintenance. So generally, overall, I'm okay with them. The bollards, I hesitate a little bit on. Would anybody else like to comment? Commissioner Stewart?
I'm supportive of all of them, but I'm concerned about number 2 because I feel like we have an ordinance. You can't block somebody's driveway with any size vehicle. So to me, the answer to that problem is to encourage people to call the police. I don't think we want to get in defining oversized vehicles because that's,
I think maybe I didn't explain it right. I think
Okay.
one thing we'd like to do is find a place where they could go.
okay.
Could
Are
refer
most of
them
these
to.
workers doing jobs on properties nearby?
Some of them, but
Okay.
Anybody else? Commissioner Good?
Yes, Commissioner Saunders, I want to commend you on number 1. Just on Delaware Avenue alone, in proximity to Funland, where you have a lot of, toddlers, preschoolers, and adults for that matter, there are several errant wires, and, who knows if they're live? I have no idea, but I had to prevent a child from, going closer to one recently. But I'm concerned, I agree with Commissioner Stewart, because I think that's sort of a lower priority in the sense that the police department, I believe, is the proper venue for handling that. And I think they do a good job, actually. Like, I actually don't see as many vehicles blocking driveways here in Rehoboth Beach as I do in other cities, for instance. My last concern is that there has been, Commissioner Saunders, I know you have it on your agenda. I thought it would be sooner. The Del Dots, and they've acknowledged that they didn't design the traffic circle at the entrance to town as well as they should have. And it's a 1996 design, and that's sort of, they wait 40 or 50 years before they have the funding to do an overall redesign. But to me, that's a high priority. You have constantly people, especially those in the right-hand lane going westbound, leaving town. They aren't even cognizant that there's a traffic circle. They think they just proceed. And you have people in the circle who, in the United States, have the right of way, sort of barrel forward. And there's a lot of anger and sort of, there are people like cursing at one another. It's a bad situation. And so even though Del Dot won't help us, I feel the city should put some resources here. And I have heard, at least Del Dot told me, if the city wants to spend the money, they'll be okay with that. We need to have overhead traffic signals, because what's there now is like a stop sign height, and half the drivers don't even recognize they're entering a circle. So I was wondering if that will
that's
go
all
on your
true.
agenda?
That's all true, and it's coming events.
Like, not on this list,
It'll
but,
be on the next list. This list was prepared prior to that discussion that we had at the last meeting.
okay.
Because of our 1 month delay.
It's just that it's been
right.
some time. And lastly, with the bollards, as some of you may know, I was the only commissioner who, really was not looking at this in terms of a cost benefit because of other means to cause mass casualties, like drones, like AR-15s, or, all the horrible things. And at the time it was first proposed, it was a $900,000 project. They had forgotten some brickwork, apparently. I happened to miss the one meeting on Friday, October 17th, at which it was put to a vote. It was 6-0, I believe, or maybe 5-0, because two of us were absent. It would have been, had I been there, I would have been a dissenting vote, but it wouldn't have changed anything. So all I ask of the public is to advocate against an additional 5 areas of the boardwalk, which are under consideration for the spring of 2027. Price tag unknown, by the way. I mean, I'm estimating it'll be $500,000. So, because it looks like a military installation, in my personal opinion. It's too late.
Commissioner Good, you're off topic.
So
Can
I
you
would
get back to
request
this
that we
sheet, please?
not try to decorate them with like primitive art, or I don't even know what people have in mind, because at this point, I'm not, we have to leave.
We're not advocating for any new ones. We're advocating to somehow give the community an opportunity to participate with making those that are there more friendly. That's all.
Good luck, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Gossett?
If I may, yes, thank you for the report back. I think hearing other commissioners' comments could take into consideration, but also just overall, I would see if each of these topics you could discuss with the committee their expectations of what is to be accomplished by these, what the budget would be, and what timeline would they expect them to be accomplished by, whether it's 3 months, years, whatever, but just get some expectations of what your committee is expecting, so you can convey that to us when these come back with a more formal
And
proposal.
that's what we try to do in every case, depending on the case. But of course,
Thank you.
The whole point is to have this discussion first, so if something's not of interest, we just don't go any further with it. So, and I assume from everybody else that the Bollards is not of any interest to anybody, so I will let that one pass, and, excuse me.
All right. Thank you. Before we go to we will go to the public. This is also the opportunity for commissioners to suggest agenda topics that can be covered by and analyzed by the committee. I want to remind all the commissioners that we've received 2 letters. One letter from, well, both letters have to do with consideration of rescinding parking restrictions that are specifically on Queen Street, East Lake Drive, and Prospect Street. And interestingly, one letter writer lives on King Charles, and she wants to remove the restrictions on Queen. And one constituent lives on Queen and wants to remove restrictions on Queen, Prospect, and Lake. But anyhow, I would like and suggest that we add a number 6 item to your list and authorize the committee to look into that.
Happy to do that.
Obviously, I don't think that we can follow up on just 2 people asking for the entire street and area to be resolved. They might need to pull their other members or something. But anyhow, I would add that as a number 6 on there. Commissioner Good?
I think we're sort of missing the mark about what's at stake here. It would appear the city, in the past, discriminated against those using the Queen Street Beach by deciding just the streets.
This
near
is this is not the opportunity to
Okay,
to
well, let's
debate
be
these.
clear that
It's generally a yes or a
we move more
no.
quickly with lifting those parking restrictions between midnight and 6 a.m. We need to poll the people on those streets and I've spoken to a lot of them. The consensus is that it's an antiquated and discriminatory restriction that and the St. Lawrence Street residents got it removed a few years ago. I'm not sure why the other streets weren't consulted all at the same time. But it should be gone by July 1st.
And my understanding is because this topic did come up earlier, and when it came up, there were just as many people that want them to be retained, and that's why nothing was done.
Okay, sorry about that, okay.
That's right. It was
But
a 50-50.
It's the discriminatory aspect of it which makes me extremely uncomfortable. The high school students are just as likely to hang out in cars at 3 in the morning as, LGBTQ people.
No, that
To me,
wasn't
I
the
mean,
reason, Suzanne. The reason that the people that want them retained is because they're getting people from Dewey were parking over there because it was was cheaper to park there and buy a sticker for a week than it was to park in Dewey. And then they'd just walk over the bridge, or they'd ferry back and forth. And that was the concern that they had, that somebody would park there for a week, and it was just as bad as not having anyone.
Well, I got letters that talked about the original,
Well, that
you
was,
know,
right, years ago.
reason to impose this, and it seems like we should go, you know, we're now in the 21st century. It's time to be, you know, fairer toward everyone.
Thank you, Suzanne. We got your point. Thank you. We'll go to the members of the public. Mr. Gaynor, if you come up.
Hi, Tom Gaynor, stakeholder in Rehoboth. Always a pleasure to see you guys, and I'm sure vice versa. Interesting comments. I'm so glad we brought up the bollards. I've got some interesting suggestions for you, Mark. First off, remove them, which you guys will never do. We're $1.3 million into a $900,000 project, passed on an emergency basis with no public awareness, no public serious discussion. You guys rammed it through on $1 million. Mark, you weren't even aware of what the cost was going to be, and you said, "I'm not sure we need it, but I'm in for the million." Your debut at that vote was a quintessential moment of your inattention to detail, and I hope everybody watches your particular enforcement of the waste of money to build Fortress Rehoboth. And I love the fact that the mayor only interrupts Commissioner Good when she lets on moments of truth, that more are coming, and Stan's fine with them. So if you love them, don't worry, we got more coming, because there's at least 5 more areas we're going to throw them down and waste more money, right? And just can't wait to see what Commissioner Stewart's Rejuvenate Rehoboth looks like. You know, I practice in Asia quite a bit. On Monday, I'll be at the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo. I spend time at the embassies in Bangkok, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, the consulate. You know what I don't see? I don't see anything as disgraceful as the bollards on that boardwalk at the U.S. embassies in Asia. That is such a waste of money and is such a complete disgrace. And the way that it was rammed through on the emergency basis, even more disgraceful. So here's the suggestion. I will personally pay for the brass plate that we dedicate each and every one of those bollards to Commissioner Stewart, Commissioner Tier, Commissioner Gossett, Mayor Mills. We'll throw in the city solicitor as well. And Mark, we'll do 2 for you.
I appreciate it.
And Commissioner Gallanti. I think a brass plate dedicating that monstrosity that you destroyed our boardwalk with, and show people who's responsible. If you love it so much, maybe we should call it the Stan Mills Memorial Bollard Garden at the boardwalk. You were so responsible for building and rejuvenating that boardwalk, and then the disgraceful end of your legacy and your 6-year tenure, which has been painful for most of us, to leave those bollards. I can't think of a better memorial for the 6 years of your mayoralty. Guys, get rid of them, don't put any more in, and if you want the brass plates, dedicating them to all the voters who made us waste money on them, I'll pay for them.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else? Collins?
As a member
Name,
of
address.
Collins Roth resident, the Boardwalk, just to add to what Mark said, as we discussed at the Public Safety Committee with the bollards, it was to work with what's there at the moment. I personally didn't like the idea of the bollards. I actually have been really impressed with the way they've been used. They've actually become a gathering point, a lot of them. There's people eating around them, putting food on them, gathering around them, putting their kids up on them, playing around with them. I hadn't sort of expected that. I did some looking. I think we tabletop some of them and create a space where people can gather. I'm not sure why that's funny, but you know, at the moment we have bollards that are just there. If they're going to be there, why not make them tables? Why not make them places where the community can gather? And those were the ideas that we wanted to discuss at our committee when we were thinking about this. So thanks.
Thank you, Colin. Back.
I apologize to Mr. Roth, for
Suzanne.
laughing about the tabletop.
Suzanne? No. Anybody else of the public? Yes, ma'am. Again, our topic is suggestions to go back to the Streets and Safety Committee.
Okay. My name's Carol Holzman. I'm at 51 Columbia Avenue. And I don't have a suggestion, but I just want to, I'm sorry, the police chief left. The visibility, the police visibility on Columbia Avenue has been much better. I talked to one of the police officers yesterday. She had made an arrest or gave a ticket for one of the lifeguards on Deauville Beach for going 55 miles an hour down Columbia Avenue and passing on the double yellow line. So she was being effective yesterday, and I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Carol. Anybody else? We'll bring it back to the table here. So what we want to do is conclude with what of these 6 items we want to send to the Streets and Safety Committee. Mark, you mentioned earlier you didn't seem that there was receptivity to the bollards. Is
I guess there's still not.
okay? And so is everybody okay with everything else?
We'll take your advice in, Mayor, about the working with the utilities through the city. That's fine.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Commissioner Stewart?
with regard to the bollards, I mean, does it hurt to have the committee discuss things? I know out in public, when I talk to people, there's independent enthusiasm for decorating them. And as long as it doesn't hurt the functionality, I don't see any problem with the committee investigating that and coming back to us. But
I think that's fine. You just have to understand, part of the reason we got here, the process, is because we were not receptive to a lot of ideas coming out of committees, and we wanted to preserve time. So if you're 50-50 or something, you want to do that. Now, if you're 90% against it, then I would hope you would not want to put this on them. So is there a majority that wants to change their mind and let them do the bollards? Go ahead. Commissioner Galante?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I see no harm. I have heard the enthusiasm across the community about potential ideas for enhancing the bollards, the skims, I think they call them, that get put on vehicles. Was one idea that I heard, perhaps ones that would be sponsored by businesses. I think there's a lot of potential, but before we summarily say no to it, I think it's worthwhile hearing what the potential is. I also support the remainder of the items that were on Mark's report, as well as the one that you brought up. Those letters were impactful to me, and I think it's important that the committee run that to ground. So I say I keep them all.
We have at least 2, maybe 3 that would like to do it. So I'd say let's just resolve it and give you permission for all 6.
Thank you.
Just understand, if it goes south, I'm blaming Commissioner Galante.
They come back for another chance.
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Good?
Yeah, I have no particular objection if Streets and Transportation, or Streets and Safety Advisory wants to figure out some potential aesthetic improvements to the bollards. And of course, I am firmly against these other 5 locations on the boardwalk, which is of an unknown price. But I would say just generally, I think a higher priority for safety right now are some of these, so I would say try to deal with, including concerns on Henlopen Avenue. People are very happy with the stop signs, but the fact that it's a residential width street of apparently only 18 feet across. As a bicyclist, I've already experienced lessened safety because the cars are intimidated by the yellow line.
We're focusing on these 6 items
I
here.
think Streets and Transportation may want to take another look at the merits of all, it's not the stop signs that were installed, those are being met favorably, but the yellow lines that take away the residential, affect of Henlopen Avenue. And before we proceed, well, Columbia is a state road, but, before we proceed with State Road and with Columbia Avenue, and I guess, well, not Bayard, but that we prioritize things that affect people's safety. I'm not sure the bollards being painted or not painted. You're welcome to go, to spend time that way if you like. I don't have a particular opinion. I'm, concerned that taste is a personal thing. Some people might like the artwork that, the Art League provides. Other people might hate it. So it becomes an endless discussion of, what is pretty and what is not. I've seen this before in condo board meetings, so we got to be careful there.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Mayor, may I just answer one thing?
Yeah.
I just want to say, nothing's permanent, and that goes for Henlopen, it goes for the bollards. If we find something is not working at Henlopen or Columbia after 3 or 4 months of trying it, we'll look at something different. Same thing with the bollards. We're not going to do anything to those bollards that are going to any way and hinder what they're there for, which is protection and safety. And anything we do decoration-wise would only be a temporary situation. So nothing is written in bollard, written in stone. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is Rehoboth Beach Boardwalk Historic Designation Task Force, which I chair. I have desire to tell you that our next meeting is Tuesday, June 23rd, beginning at 9 o'clock. We've already focused on the Delaware Public Archives historical markers at the previous meeting, and this meeting will focus on the National Register of Historic Places as primarily an introduction. Next item on our agenda is community partner reports. Embedded electronically in your agenda are reports from the library, Chamber of Commerce, and Main Street. Again, they're embedded. You can read them at your leisure. But I want to thank each of those groups for taking the time commitment to create those for us each month. Next item.
Mayor, if I may, just
Commissioner Gossett.
if I may just highlight within that, Rehoboth Beach Main Street, I was tasked with being the liaison from the city to the Post Office Task Force, which is a sub-task force of Main Street. And just to highlight that on June 24th, Rehoboth Beach Main Street Post Office Task Force will present its application for the nomination of the Rehoboth Beach Post Office to the National Register of Historic Places. This will be done by Susie Martin, who's the president of RBMS Main Street, and will present it to the Delaware State Historic Preservation Office for their application.
I'm sorry, that's a submittal.
Submittal for application, but they will go submitting it to the board for approval. The approval could take anywhere from 1 to 6 months, but it is a protective measure for the post office downtown. This has been a process that's been going on for over a year, and Main Street Subcommittee has really been doing an incredible job to complete the application, and it's a very thorough application, and I'm sure it merits approval. So we look forward to having that in the near future, I hope.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. With that, we're going to move on the agenda. The next item is a public hearing for the amended supplemental permit of compliance request by Heather Sharp and Julia Robinson of Sharp Hospitality LLC to operate an outdoor dining patio serving alcoholic beverages in conjunction with the restaurant known as The Blue Hen, pursuant to the City of Rehoboth Municipal Code, Section 270-19B, use restrictions, dining patios. The restaurant and outdoor dining patio are located at 33 Wilmington Avenue. I'd like to turn it over to the city solicitor to explain the process and identify the exhibits, please.
As always, I'll start off with some housekeeping. A supplemental permit of compliance hearing is required whenever a restaurant has a patio and wants to serve alcohol. Today's request is for an amended supplemental permit of compliance to allow for additional seating on the patio. This is the time when it has been publicly noticed for such a hearing. It was noticed in the Cape Gazette and Delaware State News. Anne, can you please confirm that the public hearing was properly noticed in both papers and that the residents within 200 feet were notified? I would like to put several documents into the record before we begin. First is the building inspector's report. Second is the application for permit of compliance, which is dated, signed, and notes that the fee has been paid. In addition, there's a proposed menu and floor plan. In addition, all documents that were put into the agenda, I would like to incorporate by reference into the record. What we intend to do today is to review the statute, and then we'll allow the building inspector to have the floor with the commissioners able to ask questions. Then the applicant will be given the floor with the commissioners able to ask questions. Then there'll be public comment, and then there'll be a motion. As always, I'll begin with citing the code, Chapter 215, Section 5. No applicant shall receive a permit of compliance or a supplemental permit of compliance from the city until after a public hearing, at which hearing interested parties and citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard. A permit of compliance or a supplemental permit of compliance shall not be issued to the applicant or to the Delaware Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission, except by the favorable vote of a majority of the members of the city commissioners. In reaching their decision, the commissioners shall consider the following factors, including but not limited to whether the applicant has demonstrated that the establishment's primary purpose will be that of a restaurant or a dinner theater as defined in this chapter, whether the establishment meets all of the city's applicable zoning and licensing provisions, whether the establishment would be a detriment to the peace, order, and quiet of the neighborhood in the city, whether the establishment will have an adverse impact on the neighboring properties or on the city of Rehoboth Beach, considering the impact on traffic, parking, and noise, whether the applicant had made any false representation or statements to the city's employees or to the commissioners in order to induce or prevent action by the city, not only in regard to the permit pending application under this chapter, but also in regard to the issuance of a building permit or business license for the subject establishment. We'll now turn to the building inspector's report that's been placed in the record. Corey, do you have anything else you'd like to point out?
Just a few comments. The existing restaurant permit of compliance remains unchanged. The dining patio and the area within remains unchanged. This came as a result of one of the annual restaurant inspections, and I just want to extend a very grateful thank you to the Blue Hen owners. They worked with city staff and have done everything we've asked of them. This is simply to add seats onto the dining patio from 17 to 34. Nothing else is changed. That's it.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Corey. Do any commissioners have any questions of the building inspector? The Mayor invites the applicant forward. Welcome. You're fine where you are. Would you like to ask any questions or make any statements or whatever? I know you've been here X number of years, so you're well-versed in business here. Would you like to offer to say anything?
We love doing business in Rehoboth. We love the community and our guests and the visitors, and we just want everybody to be able to enjoy the Blue Hen and its patio, to the fullest extent that it can be.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions of the applicant by the commissioners? If not, then this is a public hearing. So we'll now open for public comment. If you would raise your hand, and when acknowledged, please come forward to the center lectern, give your name and relationship to the city. Is there anybody who would like to speak for or against or general comment? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting and bring it back to the commissioners. Is there any further discussion? Or else I'll obtain a motion specifically to grant a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance.
Mayor, if I may make a motion.
Commissioner Gossett.
Thank you, to grant a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance as noted in section 215-5 to a restaurant known as the Blue Hen. I find that the following to be true, that the proper application for a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance has been filed. The proper fee has been paid, the proper identifications have been made, that all parties wishing to be heard have been heard, that the primary purpose is that of a restaurant, that the dining patio meets the city's applicable zoning and licensing provisions, that the dining patio would not be a detriment to the peace, order, and quiet of the neighborhood and the city, that the dining patio will not have an adverse impact on the neighboring properties or on the city of Rehoboth Beach, considering the impact on traffic, parking, and noise, that the applicant has made no false statements to the city employees or the commissioners. Therefore, I make a motion that the city manager issue the applicants a supplemental permit of compliance for the operation of a dining patio to be associated with the restaurant known as Blue Hen.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the city manager to issue the applicants a supplemental permit of compliance for the operation of a dining patio to be associated with the restaurant. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. You've been a great success story, and we wish you continued success.
Thank you.
If you're smart, you'll duck out now, and
For the dinner service.
thank you. Next on our agenda is, there is no old business, there is new business. First item of new business is to discuss and possible consideration of appointment of Jonathan Bauer to fill the Planning Commission seat vacated by Michael Strange, such term ending September 17th, 2027. Is there any discussion among the commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to appoint Mr. Jonathan Bauer to fill the Planning Commission seat vacated by Michael Strange, such term ending September 17, 2027.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Jonathan Bauer to fill the Planning Commission seat vacated by Michael Strange, such term ending September 17, 2027. Is there any additional discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and the motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Second item of new business B is consider awarding a contract to Blooming Glen Contractors, Inc. for well number 7 and well number 8 water treatment facility PFAS, PFAS upgrades. Henry? He just took off. We'll get him back. There you go.
Henry's not here, but here he is.
No, he's
I was
here
going
now.
to try to do it myself.
My apologies.
You have your own slideshow, Henry?
Just what was in the
In the
agenda.
packet.
Ann, if I could get. Here we go. All right, good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, members of the public. So today I'm going to be here to discuss and ask board action for well 7 and well 8 water treatment PFAS facility PFAS upgrade. I'd like to introduce Brian Miller from Pannoni Associates, who was the lead designer for the project. And I think all of you know Rocky Esposito, our assistant water superintendent, who does an amazing job for the city. So what I'm going to do is kind of go a quick summary, little background, go through the bid evaluation, the financial info and impacts, and ask for
board action. So quick background. In 2029, it will be required to have a limit of the PFAS, the forever chemicals, of 4 parts per trillion. Now, the EPA had extended their date to 2031, but the state of Delaware Office of Drinking Water has kept that date at 2029. So in 2024, we started looking at this very seriously, and had met Brian through American Public Works Association, my predecessor, but actually Kevin Williams, that actually introduced me to Brian, and had an opportunity to look at the facility in Newark, Delaware, and made arrangements. And summer 2024, the city manager, assistant city manager, Rocky, the assistant water superintendent, and I went up to Newark for really an extensive tour. Met with their mayor, city manager, and water department superintendent. Showed us their facilities, which were largely done, but not quite online yet. And they spoke very highly of the work that Pannoni did for them. And Mr. Miller was the lead designer for them. So did some more investigation, talking to other firms, and we decided to go with Pannoni. So they were hired for the design, which obviously took quite some time, about a year and a half. We recently put the invitation to bid out. We had 10 contractors show up at the pre-bid meeting, and then 4 contractors chose to bid, and I'll go over those bids in a second. And in addition to putting the advertisement out to bid, both Mr. Miller and I contacted several contractors that we would feel comfortable dealing with, just to make sure they were aware of this, and sent them the package and make sure they knew about the opportunity to bid if they chose. So this is embedded in the agenda also. This is the letter from Mr. Miller from Pannoni recommending contract award. And these, as mentioned, there were 4 bids at the bid opening. I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but there were 4 bids, as mentioned. And interestingly enough, the first 3 contractors are from Eastern Pennsylvania, and the last one, KMP Mechanical, is from Elkton, Maryland. So, any questions before I go on to the financial aspect of it?
Any questions of the commissioners? Commissioner Saunders?
It's the same question we always ask. There's such a big gap between the top and the bottom. How do you explain the big gap?
There really, it depends on their mobilization, what work they have going on at the time. But the good thing is you can see there really isn't an outlier. The first and the second ones are pretty close. And so there were a couple contractors that I really thought were going to bid on this, but they chose not to. Most likely they had enough work. So it's really how their estimator puts it together. Mr. Miller and I were actually pretty pleased with this. A, that we had 4, and B, that the bottom 2 were, the 2 lowest bids were fairly close to each other.
And we vetted them so that we know that the lower bids are the same quality as the upper bids?
Yes, and if you don't mind talking about, I've never dealt with Blooming Glen. Obviously, I've dealt with Ronca before, so if you want to.
Yeah, just real quick, I have experience working with Blooming Glen from Eastern PA. They have experience with similar types of projects, specifically installation of these types of vessels, and the other contractors are similarly qualified. KMP, I'm actually working on 2 projects with them right now for mechanical type work. So as far as the explanation of separation, it almost seems like that's the norm where there's quite a bit of span and we are getting into higher numbers for these things, so.
Thank you.
Oh, sir, would you identify yourself, maybe again, if I missed it?
Sure, Brian Miller with Pannoni, or the consulting engineer for the project.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Henry?
Okay. So the financial aspects. The project should be complete early FY28. The funding is all internal, so we're not using state or federal funds or loans, so prevailing wages are not required. And plus, if you do, there's an awful lot more paperwork which has to be done, which we will not have to do. I had budgeted $2.4 million for the project in this fiscal year. Now, 1.3 million, a little over 1.3 million was for physically for the 4 Calgon tanks, 2 at well 7, 2 at well 8. And it leaves a little more of $1 million for construction costs. So estimate, based on the schedule, the 2.4 could be a little low for this year. And I had budgeted 500, I had put an estimate of 500,000 for next year, but we'll probably be hopefully pulling that forward because I'd like to get this done as soon as possible and the tanks online. And just an FYI, in FY26, Water Department budget was about 450,000 under budget. We had thought we were going to have to pay for the tanks in FY26, but we didn't, which is good. So we're able to earn interest on that money, and we're paying that in 20% increments with the final to be paid at delivery. And with that, when they are delivered, it does come with the first round of activated carbon media that will be used. And when this project is going on, intend to hire Beacon Engineering as a part-time RPR. I did that for the interconnect with Tidewater at well 8, and that's in the Water Department engineering budget. And $75,000 is budgeted for design with Pannoni in FY27. That's a separate line item in the CIP. And the total contract with Pannoni was about $187,000. And a lot of that was spent in FY26.
Thank you, Henry.
Mayor,
Commissioner Saunders?
I'm not clear what Peony has yet to do for the 75,000. What haven't they yet designed?
Well, the design is done, but a lot of questions will come up. Questions will come up for sure from the contractor. The design is largely done. They're also going to be working with the county as far, we largely have the permits as far as the disposal of the backwash, which is done with the carbon filtration. So it's anticipated. Mr. Miller and I have had the discussion that it should be less than the $75,000.
Commissioner Stewart?
So just to add it all up, it looks like the project's going to be about $3 million, we think, in fiscal year 27. And we budgeted 2.4, but we have 458, so we're just about 140,000 short in terms of what's budgeted.
Yeah, I was probably a little light on that. In a previous meeting, I had mentioned that the whole entire project would be between 4 and 5 million. So, knock on wood, will definitely be less than that. We'll be closer to the maybe 3.5 million range. That's all.
That's
in.
with Pannoni and these other.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Thayer.
The tanks that we're buying, I think it says we're buying 4 tanks. That's the total number of tanks we're buying?
That's correct. If you take a look at the picture on the left, those are the 2 existing tanks that we actually have 4 at Lynch Wells. The ones you see on the right are the ones very similar to the ones that we have purchased from Calgon.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just comment, if I may. We've also been receiving, from a lawsuit that was filed, we've received X number of dollars. I'm trying to remember, it's like $1.5 million or so far that was paid.
Yeah, the city has received the PFAS class action mitigation funds. I believe over 1.5 million has been received.
Right, and that's directly attributable to these expenses also, correct?
Correct, and so we received some of that last fiscal year, and we recently, as recent as last week, got another, I believe, $380,000 check.
Thank you.
Henry, there's an extra comment in here. I'm just double checking. The amount of the contract is $1,701,534, correct?
That's
Okay,
correct.
We got it? Okay. If there's no further questions up here, we'll go to the members of the public. Is there any comments on this? Tom?
Tom Gaynor, stakeholder in Rehoboth. Henry, this is it's a good presentation. Question, from the general public's perspective, the numbers don't make sense. You guys are bandying about a bunch of numbers, but there's no coherence to it. You're saying 1.7, she's saying 3.5, he's saying we got 1.5 coming in. There's no confidence, competence, and control of the numbers as to what this project is, how it is reflected against the budget, and whether or not that budget is inclusive of the numbers that he's throwing out. And that goes to him more than it does to you. So I would encourage you to try to, doing presentations like this, I encourage all my associates, confidence, competence, and control, so that people have confidence when you're talking about that we have confidence in the numbers that are being bandied about. Right now, I've got 3 tranches of numbers from these guys, none of which make any sense and none of which have been pulled together. So I don't know if you can do that and rationalize the 3.5, the 1.5 that's coming in, that's income, versus the 1.7 that's the contract going out. But kudos for the presentation. I wish this had been done with the bollards, but can't go back and revise history. So if you can synthesize those numbers, that'd be great.
Very good. Anybody else? If not, bring it back to the commissioners, and unless there's more discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award the bid to Bloomington Glen Contractors with Well 7 and Well 8 Water Treatment Facility PFAS upgrades in the amount of $1,701,534.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to award the contract to Bloomington Glen Contractors for Well 7 and 8 Water Treatment Facility PFAS upgrades in the amount of $1,701,534. Is there any additional discussion? Commissioner Good?
Yeah, I echo the request that Mr. Gaynor has put forth, that we understand the 380,000 of the 1.5 million came in recently, and to make sure that's gone toward the water fund, and to get a spreadsheet or a description of how the money that's come in is being applied to what has to be paid. And obviously, like the 75,000 additional consultancy, you think might be less, but let's use the maximum numbers it could be to see what the city's, tab will be the next 2 fiscal years, for instance. That would be great.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mayor, if I could, please.
Commissioner Thayer?
Yeah, quick question, just clarifying to make sure I was following you correctly. So, yeah, I come up about the same $3 million number that Commissioner Stewart came up with, but when I look at the budget, and I just kind of want to be clear, this 1.7 million, that covers all of the installation costs, right? Because you've got in the budget, you've got some installation costs budgeted for next year as well, right? About 500,000. So is this the total installation cost, or is going to be additional installation costs next year?
No, this is the total installation cost, and initially had thought more was going to be in next year, but the tanks are coming possibly as early as November when we thought it was going to be January, so that's why it's pulling forward some.
Yep, perfect. So I guess just for clarity purposes, I'll just kind of repeat back a little bit differently. So we've got an installation contract for about 1.7 million. We've got an equipment, the tank contract for about 1.3 million. So that's how we get our $3 million. We've got 2.4 budgeted this year, and we've got 500,000 budgeted next year. Just the way the timing is flowing, we'll basically use the combination of those two budgets will be for this project, right? There's not going to be any additional expenditures against that 500 next year. And again, timing aside, right? So if we put those two together, this year's budget of 2.4, next year's budget of 500, that's 3 million. What you're presenting to us is this total project is going to cost us $3 million.
It'll be a little, yeah, it'll be over some.
Yeah,
It'll
plus
be
minus a
less,
couple
a
hundred
little
K.
more than the 3 million.
Okay.
Because there is some time and materials and unit pricing that will be included in it, but it won't be a large amount.
Yeah, and there's always a chance that this project, and you may have said this project going to complete in this fiscal year, or do you think it's going to roll into next fiscal year as well?
It depends on the tanks. It depends on when we get the tanks. And even say if it gets installed and they wrap up in the end of January, say, by the time we get the payout and Mr. Miller verifies that, it could be next year that the final payout is done.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll remind you, we have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Henry.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a presentation by the city manager of city manager goals for 2026-27.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. As part of my annual performance evaluation this year, within my self-evaluation, I came up with a list of maybe 20 or 30 different goals over the next year to work on. And the background for the public, I was asked to trim that down to the most important goals, around 5 or 6. So I have 6 goals that we wanted to share before the full board and members of the public. So this board has been very clear that the code modernization is the single most important thing that we should be focused on. So I am trying to put that front and center. Dover Coal delivers their final recommendations by December is the goal. We adopt at least 3 revised code chapters this fiscal year and then publish a full implementation calendar with board-approved milestones so that there's complete transparency on what's coming up, when and how. And the master planning engagement sessions, especially the charrette week, will be completed with findings reported back to you so that we can move that forward with next steps. And I'll also continue the quarterly updates at board meetings so nothing falls through the cracks. And also, we'll be leveraging the technical assistance program to identify affordable housing opportunities that are feasible and appropriate for our city going forward, and Evan's been in the preliminary meetings on those so far. And I'll take questions or comments on each slide if that works.
Very fine, thank you.
We were not provided this in
Wait.
advance.
Would you like the floor?
Well, thank you.
Would you like the floor?
I would, thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, I was
Commissioner Goode.
searching, this was on the agenda, often you embed items last minute. Am I correct that, I guess, I understand, we're all busy. Was this not available and therefore it's not embedded in the agenda and wasn't, available for us to review ahead of the meeting?
Right.
Okay, so this is a lot, and as but I guess we could proceed, although do other people, I feel as if people, for instance, maybe July 6th makes more sense, because this is sort of flying, by the seat of our pants here. I was looking for this, I didn't see it, I had no idea that, we would not be given documentation ahead of the meeting. I
Well, I'll
actually
provide
thought
the
you'd-
presentation, and then we'll move forward from there.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
And Mayor?
Commissioner Saunders?
This was discussed at the executive meeting when we discussed the entire program. So
Understood.
each one of these was already talked about at least once.
True, but this is, this is distilled a bit, which is good, that's good. I was looking for this and didn't find it as late as like 12 noon today, and just, well, things got in the way of, okay, let's proceed. Sorry, but I just want to keep in mind that we may need additional time to ruminate, since some of it's new material.
Certainly. So as you know, the strategic plan has an implementation plan, so that it's not a plan that just sits on the shelf. Staff's actively going through, making sure that we're working on and completing different target areas. And as of the completion of the first year, we were able to complete 28% of the action items, which if you really look at a 5-year plan, that would be 20% a year. So we're a little bit ahead of the curve on completing 28%. But my goal would be to ensure that by the completion of year 2 of the plan, we will achieve 40% of cumulative completion across all of the categories. On the capital side, the goal is to have 90% of our FY27 capital projects delivered on schedule and within budget. I'll maintain a project tracker with schedule and budget status for every project, and our new project and grant accounting will also greatly help both our reporting on capital projects to be able to give you a number of what's been spent immediately, instead of having to track down individual things in our ERP system. And then this really keeps the big picture strategic vision moving, while making sure that the day-to-day construction and capital work stays disciplined. So the third goal is critical infrastructure, which we've already heard a little bit about today. The wastewater phase 4 project and the PFAS mitigation projects are our 2 largest infrastructure projects in the FY27 budget, and both need to keep moving. The target is 40% construction completion on phase 4 by May, verified by the project engineer, not self-reported. And on the PFAS project, we awarded the bid just a moment ago, and we will now issue the notice to proceed so that construction starts at least by January, depending on when we get the tanks in. But both projects get quarterly progress reports to you. These aren't aspirational, they're construction milestones with engineering verification behind them.
Oh, sorry, may I have a question? Mr.
Commissioner
Mayor?
Good?
If we back up to slide number 2, please. I know you and I had spoken briefly, and I know Mr. Matlos is doing a great job monitoring the iron part of the stormwater outfall that basically is Delaware and Wilmington Avenues. But there's been some, so there have been some issues, and that's one that was really highlighted in 2021 by a contractor. So are you considering, I know you removed it from the budget, I was not in favor of, I wanted to proceed with that. At the time, it was an $800,000 project. It might be more by now, because that was back in January. Are you willing to include that in, extra vigilance and maybe going forward with that before fiscal year, 28? We're right now in 2020, in fiscal year 2027. Is that something you'd be willing to add to that roster you have there?
I recently spoke with Mr. Matlos about your concerns about the Delaware outfall, and currently there's not an immediate need to do something, but if there is, we will let you know and come up with a solution to fund that project when and if it needs to happen. So if tomorrow it needs to be done, we'll figure out a way to get it done. If it's next fiscal year, then we'll include it in the next budget process.
Fair enough, thank you.
So goal 4 is fiscal stewardship and budget excellence. So we did earn the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Award again this year, and we will go again for it next year. And currently working with our finance director, who came on board toward the end of last year, to look at other avenues that we can also represent the excellence in our financial reporting. The budget stays structurally balanced as a goal, no tax or fee increases, fund balances at or above our policy minimums as well. The new commitment here is the financial impact section on every agenda item report. So we do have that as a section on our agenda management reports already, but Evan is going to make it a mandatory section in the system. So we'll be able to start adding that fiscal impact on every agenda item report that we do. And we will also update the 5-year outlook, the financial outlook, and present it alongside the FY28 budget so that you have that long-term view to make sure that 5 years down the line, we are still fiscally doing well.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Good?
So thank you. But, you know, this is a lot. This is a presentation. My concern, as you have known since March or possibly earlier, both Commissioner Thier and I asked you for a series of spending cuts because of you know, a desire to rein in some of the spending. I even gave you several actionable, realistic means to cut spending. Some of them were, you know, 100,000 each, and you know, we actually were met on, I think it was Friday, whatever that Friday was, March 20th, with no spending cuts. So I'd like to know how we're going to do better. For instance, under your tenure, which began, I believe, May 15th, 2024, salaries in this city have risen 23%. Salaries and benefits, no surprise, because you ran us to 100% health insurance coverage from 90%. You had the taxpayers cover 100% of the Paid Leave Family Act, this new mandated program by the government. Salaries and benefits have risen 30% under your basically 2-year tenure. And that's an unsustainable rate of growth for a city. We have issues like COLA, the cost of living adjustment. Yes, that should be added to base salaries, but you and personnel have found a way to convince everybody but myself, I believe, to add merit increases to base salary. So our salaries have gone up, went up on average 3.7% during the first year you were here, and 4.7% the first year because it was 3% COLA.
Commissioner Good.
3.7% the most
Commissioner
recent.
Good,
I have the floor.
you're off
I'm almost
topic.
done.
You-
I'd like to see, instead of
You don't have the
lauding
floor.
ourselves for how we've presented this in such a fantastic manner that someone can go to a notebook and look at it, we need to take serious action on the budget, which includes $5.5 million of new borrowing taken out in December of 2024.
Suzanne, when I call you to cease, talking louder does not appropriate. Also, I question you mentioning other commissioners and whether those other commissioners are amenable to you bringing them into the conversation.
Let's ask Commissioner Thier. Craig?
Do you have anything else, Taylor?
I just wanted to emphasize that the city conducted a compensation and benefits study prior to my arrival. It's been fully implemented, and that is what happens when you bring salaries to market rates. Ultimately, if there are direction from the commissioners, it has to be 4 commissioners giving me that direction from this dais. So unfortunately, if it's only 2, I can't necessarily take action.
Commissioner Thier?
Yeah, I just want to comment so that I'm speaking for myself here. So my comments about the budget were more related to the 5-year capital plan where we're going to, we're projecting to spend $54 million. That's where my concerns were. And to make sure that, two things. One, to make sure that we're prioritizing, one, assessing, right? Making sure the stuff needs to be done, making sure it's being prioritized, because it is a huge spend. And I appreciate that we are clearing a backlog of projects that just did not get done for whatever reason it was. The second, which is also related to the 5-year capital plan, is, we don't have the stormwater master plan. I know Henry's going to give an update, just kind of looking at the future agenda items. He's going to give an update, I think, at the next meeting, maybe. And my concern is that are we missing potential capital spend that's not in that 54 million, so that 54 million could potentially, emphasize potentially, be higher than 54 million. So again, that's where my concern was. I'm always, I've kind of said in the past when it comes to, general operations, never going to agree with you 100% on the time on how you spend the money. But again, that's just, doesn't mean you're right, doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong, doesn't mean you're right and I'm wrong. We just have a disagreement on the amounts. So again, my concerns were about the 5-year capital plan and the $54 million spend. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Taylor.
So the next goal, goal 5, is technology, communications, and emergency preparedness. This item really addresses several things that you had raised. So the city is looking at completely overhauling the way that we communicate with our residents through several different solutions. One is C-Click Fix, a basically 311 request center where people can submit a request for service or complaint and have that addressed very quickly. And it really standardizes a lot of how we can better serve our residents and visitors. So on that, we would strive for every complaint or request to be acknowledged within 24 hours and 70% resolved within 72. And then with the unprecedented blizzard that we had this last winter, we are working on formalizing an updated emergency communications plan and emergency operations plan to make sure that the feedback that we received, who needs to know this and when question, getting that answered and making sure that when there is something going on, we're getting that information out swiftly and quickly. And I believe we've really made great strides in that in the past 6-8 months, and we'll continue to really run with that. We also are going to look at conducting a baseline citizen satisfaction survey so we have real data, not assumptions, about how people feel related to that, and growing our new newsletter, Beyond the Beach, to 25% more subscribers is another goal, maintaining our website engagement above 100,000 users. The goal is to be proactive, explaining the why before we act, and so that is the plan. And last but not least, goal 6 is organizational development and succession planning. So we do have various retirements on the horizon and prepare to be ready for that. Documenting a plan for every department is the goal. Our other goal is to have turnover staying below 15%, excuse me. On code enforcement, a concern of inconsistency was brought up, and we're issuing written interpretation guidelines to make sure that everyone has the same standard. No more variability on that, and we're also investing in our people, launching a career and professional development program that includes DISC training and leadership training for all of our department heads and managers. And so we're also looking at project management, the PMP certification for employees that are interested in that, so that we can continue to increase performance and retention and develop our team, not just manage them. So that is the roadmap, the 6 goals, all measurable, and happy to take any further questions.
Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Thier.
Thank you, Mayor. So 2 questions. So you mentioned code enforcement guidelines, and I may not be using the terms that you were using. It sounds like maybe it's policy, maybe it's guidelines for enforcing code. What I'd ask, doesn't need to be today, but I would ask that, and again, I'm just one person here, but once those are developed, I'd appreciate if you can come back and give us a presentation on what those are, so we can all really understand, how we're going to enforce code going forward, what the process will be. So, because what I'm hearing is I don't know if there's going to be changes, but something's going on, and I'd kind of like to be aware of what that is. So.
Certainly, and I also believe that a lot of the form-based code changes that we'll be discussing over the Charrette Week will also play into this, and so this could be a really nice way to look at it holistically.
Great, thank you. Second question, back to the stormwater master plan. I know I think I saw it in previous iterations. Henry's coming next month. That's something I'd certainly like to see in here. So I'd like to ask you to consider putting that in here. I think it's very important that we get that master plan done. Kind of as I mentioned earlier, we have some blind spots right now to what the cost of those could be. As you and I have discussed, there's things that are definitely already in the budget, but do we have 100% of it in there? We just don't know. So I'd ask your consideration in adding that to this. So thank you.
I feel comfortable with that.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Good?
So with the permit process, you're talking about additional training. Not a big fan, by the way, because I think common sense needs to prevail. My main issue, I'd like you to add, and although we need the consensus of others, I've done a little survey. Our permitting process for existing homes, I'm not talking about new construction, is one of the most burdensome and onerous in the entire country. And I have friends and neighbors. There's an issue that because if you're doing interior work or work that doesn't involve electric or plumbing, for instance, which is just, say, replacing some boards on some sort of back porch, for example, it's unusual if it doesn't affect, if there's no safety consideration, that it is mandated in this city that one needs a permit. As someone, people have joked, like in most other jurisdictions, you could be running a meth lab on your back porch and you wouldn't have code enforcement driving around, and I see them driving around, finding, people who are flouting the law. And unfortunately, it's led to a culture, I believe, because I've seen it happen, of neighbors ratting on their neighbors, because sometimes people aren't even cognizant that you need a permit. I want to reduce the number of projects when they don't affect safety, plumbing, like an HVAC system. You could argue, when you're replacing the HVAC, I'm not even convinced a permit should be needed, because if it's just replacing a broken HVAC. However, in this city, you need. So I was hoping you could add to your agenda to start reducing the number of projects for which Rehoboth Beach demands a permit, which of course is paperwork, it's 2% of the project's cost, it just goes on and on, and it's not customer friendly. The residents pay the bills, we need to be friendly toward them.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, sir,
No
thank
more
you.
questions? Thank you very much. Thank you, Taylor. Yes. Yeah, come ahead. Name and address, please.
Yeah, Hoyt Decker on Laurel Street. I'd like to pick up on the issues that Commissioner Good and Commissioner Thayer just mentioned, and it actually goes back to the beginning of Mr. Tedder's presentation, and that is he has boiled down to the top 6. But it seems that that's leaving out 24. As he mentioned, there were about 30 issues that he believes have some significance in his role. So I'm not asking for anything right now, but I'm just wondering whether that sort of information ought to be out to the general public, or at least somehow available. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Tom Gaynor, stakeholder in Rehoboth. It's no secret that I'm not a big fan of your management style or your substantive accomplishments. I still see 3 dead cherry blossom trees on Bayard Avenue that have been there for 2.5 years. And for the life of me, all of the major issues that you propose to work on are administrative drivel. The one thing that this town is fundamentally a magnet for is for happy people during a happy season to come to the beach and celebrate with their families and friends. And we have nothing but the most onerous pall hanging over this monstrous building that then they have to interact with if they're an owner, if they're a stakeholder, if they're a business owner. So what I'd love to see you do is actually get out and walk around and adopt as your number 1 priority, not code revision, but make Rehoboth pretty again. And actually think about how this town remains a magnet, because there are a hell of a lot of other places where people can go spend their money. And anecdotally, this year they are. Most homeowners or most landlords are down anywhere from 20 to 30% from COVID highs this year. Do you know that? Do you have any sense of the finger on the pulse of what people are going through? No, you guys just consider, oh, there's another fee, tack it onto the visitors. Oh, there's another fee, we'll hit it on the renters. That's all you guys think about, is passing it on. Magically, money is somebody else's problem. Money is actually the owner's problem in this city. And you guys spend it willy-nilly. Focus on the knitting, which is not code revision that gets the wonks all, hot and bothered. Make sure the town is functioning as it should, as an attractive resort, as a place people want to come and spend money, and as a place people want to come back to on a repetitive basis. So far on those 3 metrics, you're missing the mark. And I hope you'll go back and take a look at your 6 and think about a better way to serve us and not serve the bureaucrats in the building or the consultants that also get hot and bothered over your code revision and all the other nonsense that appears on some of these things. Make the town pretty, make it function, and make it more friendly, to tack Commissioner Good's phrase. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else? If not, we're moving on to the next item of business. New business D. Consider appointments of election officers to be assigned to the 2026 Rehoboth Beach mayoral and commissioner's municipal election, and then there's listed a slate there. The municipal election will be held, of course, on Saturday, August 8th, 2026, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And as we conduct this election pursuant to the Charter, Section 7C, and State Code 15 Del C, Section 7556, the Commissioners of Rehoboth Beach have a duty and responsibility to appoint, for the purposes of conducting a municipal election, such number of election officials as are required to fully and completely conduct a fair and impartial election for the qualified and registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach, to be able to select from a slate of candidates 1 person for the office of Commissioner of Rehoboth Beach with the title of mayor, and for 2 people for the title of office of Commissioners of Rehoboth Beach. We have been presented with a list of such names by Assistant City Manager Evan Miller after consultation with Stephen Sivens, Chair of the Board of Elections. The people nominated have all been vetted with the election office staff and determined to be qualified electors and recorded on the Book of Registers, voters in the city of Rehoboth Beach. I would ask that a motion be made such that the commissioners appoint the person so named in the agenda by title for the 2026 Rehoboth Beach municipal election to be conducted again on Saturday, August 8th, 2026, from 10 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. Is there any discussion? Is there any public comment? Tom?
stakeholder. Once again, I object strenuously to Steve Simon being anywhere near the elections.
Of
He
who?
is Steve Simons. He absolutely has not the temperament, has not the behavioral conduct, violated your civility, the nonsensical civility policy you guys tried to impose last summer, and has no business running an election given his bias, given his obnoxiousness, and given his absolute officiousness to candidates, to people working with candidates, and the general public. Strenuously object. And if that guy has anything to do with this election, and if this election has any issues related to qualifications, that's even all the more of a problem for the city. So please do not put Steve back in charge of a process he has no business running.
I would entertain a motion to approve the slate before us that's listed in the agenda. Again, it includes Inspector of Elections Jerry Capone, election officials as listed, and the poll workers as listed. We get a motion?
I make the motion. Do you want to read them individually?
No, just
I
refer.
make a motion that we approve those individuals, Inspector of Elections, election officials, and official poll workers as listed.
Can we get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the list of election officials as per the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Do a roll call.
Aye.
Well, let's see, if you're the only negative, then we don't need to do it. All those in favor, again, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I'd like to abstain due to lack of information about 2 or 3 of, we weren't provided much background on some of these, the newly proposed.
Understand, you're an abstain.
I'm
With that, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda item is submission of nominating petitions for commissioners' approval as to qualifications of candidates for the annual municipal election scheduled for August 8th, 2026. Turn it over to Lisa. Let me say, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Mayor and Commissioners, the board's responsibility today is to determine whether each candidate has satisfied the objective legal qualifications for office established by the city charter and applicable law. This is a function assigned to the board and is not intended to serve as a forum for evaluating the relative merits of candidates. The city requested that each candidate execute an affidavit under penalty of perjury regarding the qualifications for office. You all have been provided them in your packet. The purpose of the affidavit is to provide the board with a formal sworn representation of the facts relevant to those qualifications. The board is entitled to rely upon those sworn representations. As a general matter, as we move to voting, recusal is appropriate where a decision directly affects a commissioner's own legal rights or those of an immediate family member. Accordingly, it is my legal recommendation that a commissioner recuse himself or herself from consideration of his or her own candidacy, and that a commissioner recuse himself or herself from the certification of a spouse's candidacy. At the same time, these recusal principles must be applied in a manner that permits the board to fulfill the duties imposed upon it by the charter. The board has a mandatory obligation to certify qualified candidates and conduct the election process. The mere fact that commissioners may have previously taken legislative positions on matters affecting candidates or may be opposing candidates in election does not by itself create a disqualifying conflict of interest requiring recusal from the certification of another candidate. My recommendation is that the board proceed with the certification process in accordance with these principles, the requirements of the charter, and the board's obligation to preserve the integrity and impartiality of the electoral process. I'll turn it over now to Taylor, but as your name is called, we would ask that you please recuse from consideration.
Let me
I
just,
have a comment,
let me
please.
insert in there also that we heard what you just said, and the board will proceed in accordance with the charter and the legal advice provided by the city solicitor.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Good?
I just heard Ms. Ogden's statement, and I will say, in the case of the approval of the qualifications of Jeffrey Good, if I were to recuse myself, which I do not want to do, but if I were to do so, both Commissioners Saunders and Commissioner Gossett, who are his opponents in the commissioner race, would also have to recuse themselves, in particular because both of them voted in favor of a prohibition of spouses and those with any financial relationships being allowed to serve simultaneously on the board. So they are compromised. They are certainly biased against the certification of Jeffrey Good. So as a compromise, if all three of us were to recuse, or if none of us were, or two options, three of us recuse or none of us recuse. Because what Ms. Ogden has set forth is sort of like an edict to tell, and recusal is not, unless it's put to a vote subsequently, like if a person refuses to recuse, it's not an obligation, it's voluntary, right? Like we have this city solicitor who's unelected running everything. And that has been a real problem for me for months and months and months, and I'm not gonna let it happen today. I'm prepared.
Mayor?
Thank you, Suzanne. The sequencing that we'll use today is we'll review the candidates for the mayoral seat. Then we'll do the commissioner seats, and they'll be done alphabetical.
Mr. Mayor, before we get to that, just a quick point of order, just so I...
Commissioner Galante?
Thank you. So are we going to be doing this individually? We're going to go one after another to the mayoral, and then we're going to go to the commissioner ones?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'd like to make a comment before we do that.
Okay.
All right. As commissioners, we have a responsibility to uphold the requirements of the city charter and to ensure that every candidate for elected office meets the qualifications established by law. One of the most important of these is the requirement that the mayor be a bona fide resident and domiciliary of the city of Rehoboth Beach, and that they have been domiciled here for the 12 months immediately preceding the date of the election. Under Delaware law, domicile is determined by the totality of circumstances. It reflects not only where a person may own property, but where they maintain their true, fixed, and permanent home, the place they intend to return and remain. A person may have multiple residences, but only one domicile. Recently, public statements have been made on social media in which a candidate identified Philadelphia, Pennsylvania as their place of residence. In addition, public records indicate that the individual registered to vote in Rehoboth Beach only in the calendar year 2026, and that they have never voted in a municipal election here. These facts appear inconsistent with the charter's requirements of Rehoboth Beach domicile for the 12 months preceding the election. I want to be clear. I am not making any determination about the eligibility of any current candidate. That responsibility lies with the appropriate election officials, legal counsel, and with the Board of Commissioners as we vote to certify nominating petitions. However, when public representations and voter registration history raise questions about whether the charter's domicile requirements have been met, it is both reasonable and necessary to seek clarification. My interest is to ensure that our election process is transparent, fair, and consistent with the law for the benefit of the public and all candidates, and so it is clear to candidates and voters alike how the standard for domicile will be interpreted in the future. I believe it would be appropriate for the city to review this matter and provide clear guidance on how the domicile requirement will be evaluated in the future. This protects the integrity of our process and ensures that every candidate is held to the same standard established in the charter. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we're going to start do them individually, starting with the mayor's seat and then the commissioner's seat, and it'll be done alphabetical. Based on the legal advice provided, I would ask Commissioner Good to recuse herself from the consideration of this first matter and to step down from your seat, please.
Leave.
No, you don't have to leave the room.
But I will note, in spite of two requests, the attached item failed to correct my title. I don't know too many women, married or not married, whatever, who are referred to as Mrs.
Suzanne, when you recuse, you're not allowed to say anything.
Well, I'd like the record to reflect that in spite of requests for this to be, edited, corrected, it was not done. So I'm not.
Commissioner, due respect, your request came in after this document was prepared by Ms. Moore. So whether or not you wanted us to change an entire document that went out to all of the commissioners, that just wasn't possible. This document was
You do it
drafted
all
on
the
June
time.
3rd.
You change documents like 3 times in 72
Please.
hours, but this one apparently, okay. So,
Please,
I'll step back.
thank you.
One by one.
Yes. Yeah, we'll do them individually. Right.
Okay. Suzanne G. Good, a resident property owner of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filed a nominating petition for the office of mayor on Monday, June 1st, 2026 at approximately 12:26 p.m. Ms. Good provided a Delaware driver's license proving that she has attained the age of 21 and shows that she is a full-time resident of Rehoboth Beach. The city's tax records show that Ms. Good is a freeholder of property within the city of Rehoboth Beach. The nominating petition filed has 15 signatures. 15 of the 15 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach. Ms. Good has completed and filed the candidate qualifications affidavit.
We're going to start off with public comment after we go through each of these. Is there anybody who would like to offer anything? Tom?
Tom Gaynor, stakeholder. So let me just understand, as the participants here observing this, are you two recusing yourselves when you're up for consideration as mayor?
This is not question and answer.
Well,
Do you
it
have
actually
comments,
varies.
Tom?
Why? I do have a comment, actually. And it's puzzling to me why Suzanne Good was asked to recuse herself from her deliberation as mayor, and these two weren't. That makes no sense.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Everyone was asked.
Okay, but when you said
No,
that at the beginning,
everyone
you
was
specifically
asked.
pointed out to her. You didn't actually talk about the other mayoral candidates.
I
And
don't think you were
Commissioner
listening
Galante-
to me. Everyone was
and
asked.
Commissioner Galante, to do what you just did about the residency issue without providing any documentation or any basis of any piece of evidence that these people are expected to consider is beneath you. That was a disgusting hit job. And I hope that you never do something so despicable again without the material, without the evidence, and without the gentleman in the room to defend himself. Stan, don't interrupt me. It's my time. I've got a minute and a half, Stan, so you just shut up,
you
Stan.
have broken
my 3 minutes.
You have broken
my
our
3 minutes.
civility in the workplace
Oh, Stan,
policy.
save it. You've broken so many civility issues. I know.
Mayor, if I could, please.
Remember where we are. We're discussing Suzanne Good as a mayoral.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to back up like 3 minutes here because I'm going to question this whole process, right? To me, and again, I don't have the charter in front of me, but to me, if somebody submits a petition and it's deemed appropriate and qualified, the responsibility up here to me simply is yes or no. It is not discussion, public comment. I don't have a problem with going through each one individually, voting yes or no, but I do have a problem with having discussions about other commissioners up here are going to the public to provide their comments. The public will have the opportunity to comment on the individual candidates at the election. So what I'd ask is, what I'd suggest, and really it's not even suggesting, I'm asking that we change the process here. I'm not opposed to each of us recusing ourselves. When I come up, I'll recuse myself. I hope everyone else would. But to me, this is just a formality. If the city has determined the candidate qualified, it is not for us to comment on any of those candidates, is to simply vote yes on that candidate because the city has deemed them qualified. So I'd ask us to move forward. Let's vote on Commissioner Good. Then we can just go alphabetically and be done with this.
You want to respond?
Yes,
please?
Commissioner Thayer, that's fine. Thank you.
So we're going to cut out the public
No. The public will comment after the conclusion of all votes.
of all the votes. Okay.
Again, let me back up.
wanna
And
get
again, I'm struggling with that one, right? And again, I understand you're probably, I'm guessing you're coming from a FOIA perspective, and we have to allow the public to comment.
I think what
Yes or
I'm
no?
trying to do is, you're correct, Commissioner. You make a very good point. One, I've tried to make in documents to you all and today, but apparently I have not been successful. There are objective criteria. You're correct. This is a yes or a no, but this is a yes. We'll be perfectly honest. Everyone who is here signed the affidavit under penalty of perjury. The information is in fact something that you are entitled to rely on. They are all qualified.
Yep. Okay. So the public comment. So we're going to skip the public comment as well.
We're
The
not
pub-
gonna- We'll allow the public to comment at the conclusion of all votes because this is a section under new business. However, we will conduct all votes before that occurs.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, so I want the record to reflect Commissioner Good has recused herself from this item. Thank you. And with that, we will take a motion to, what is it, to certify Suzanne G. Good as a resident property owner and candidate,
No, as a candidate for me.
as a candidate for mayor. Suzanne G. Good as a candidate for mayor. Can I get a motion in a second?
I move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Suzanne G. Good as a mayoral candidate. All those in favor, we're going to do a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And of the six of us up here, we have 6 ayes.
Motion carries.
Huh? Motion carried. Thank you. Next on our list is William J. Rock, he is not here. So go ahead.
William J. Rock, a resident property owner of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filed a nominating petition for the office of mayor on Monday, June 1st, 2026 at approximately 12:33 p.m. Mr. Rock provided a Delaware driver's license proving he has attained the age of 21 and shows that he is a full-time resident of Rehoboth Beach. The city's tax records show that Mr. Rock is a freeholder of property within the city of Rehoboth Beach. The nominating petition filed has 15 signatures. 10 of the 15 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach. Mr. Rock has completed and filed the candidate qualifications affidavit.
Are there any questions? Well, no, we're just going to go right to the vote, correct?
Yeah.
We're going to do a voice vote. All those in favor signify.
We need a motion. Mayor, I move that we accept William Rock's candidacy as certified.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to certify William J. Rock as a mayoral candidate. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you very much. Taylor?
Okay.
I first would say, based on the legal advice provided, I would ask Commissioner Stewart to recuse herself from the consideration of this matter at this time.
Susan H. Stewart, a resident property owner of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filed a nominating petition for the office of mayor on Friday, May 1st, 2026 at approximately 2:30 p.m. Ms. Stewart provided a Delaware driver's license proving that she has attained the age of 21 and shows that she is a full-time resident of Rehoboth Beach. The city's tax records show that Ms. Stewart is a freeholder of property within the city of Rehoboth Beach. The nominating petition filed has 17 signatures. 17 of the 17 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach. Ms. Stewart has completed and filed the candidate qualifications affidavit.
Thank you, Taylor. The record should reflect that Commissioner Stewart has recused herself from this item. With that, I'll entertain a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the Commissioner Stewart is certified as a mayoral candidate. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Taylor?
He's moving out.
Commissioner Thayer, beat me to it. Thank you. I do want to let the record show that Commissioner Thayer has recused himself from this item. Go ahead.
Craig Thier, a resident of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filed a nominating petition for the office of mayor on Monday, June 1st, 2026 at approximately 10:15 a.m. Mr. Thier provided a Delaware driver's license proving he has attained the age of 21 and shows that he is a full-time resident of Rehoboth Beach. The city's tax records show that Mr. Thier's property is held in a trust. The nominating petition filed has 16 signatures. 16 of the 16 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach. Mr. Thier has completed and filed the candidate qualifications affidavit.
Thank you. All those in favor, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a
And a
motion.
second.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay.
Jeffrey H. Good, a resident property owner of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filed a nominating petition for the office of commissioner on Tuesday, May 26, 2026, at approximately 10:05 a.m. Mr. Good provided a Delaware driver's license proving he has attained the age of 21 and shows that he is a full-time resident of Rehoboth Beach. The city's tax records show that Mr. Good is a freeholder of property within the city of Rehoboth Beach. The nominating petition filed has 15 signatures. 12 of the 15 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach. Mr. Good has completed and filed the candidate qualifications affidavit.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late. Based on the legal advice provided, I would ask Commissioner Good to once again recuse herself from consideration of this matter.
Mr. Mayor, as I said, I'm willing to recuse myself if Commissioners Gossett and Saunders likewise do so because they're...
Well, you're not putting up an ultimatum, yes or no? Are you going to recuse or not? Just answer, that's all
All right,
I
I'll,
want.
all right. Let's hope it goes.
Let the record show then that, reflect that Commissioner Good has recused herself from this item. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'm going to abstain per Suzanne's request.
Okay. With one abstention from Commissioner Saunders. With that, the motion carries. Right? Next would be, based on legal advice provided, I would ask Commissioner Gossett to recuse himself from the consideration of this matter.
I'd be happy to do that. One point of clarification, though, is noted in the memorandum. It states the name of James P. Gossett, but as indicated on my nominating petition for the office of commissioner, it's the initial J. Patrick Gossett. I'd like the record to reflect the actual name that's indicated on my petition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll let the record show, reflect that Commissioner Gossett has recused himself from this item. Go ahead.
J. Patrick Gossett, a resident of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filed a nominating petition for the office of Commissioner on Wednesday, May 6, 2026 at approximately 9:56 a.m. Mr. Gossett provided a Delaware driver's license proving he has attained the age of 21 and shows that he is a full-time resident of Rehoboth Beach. The city's tax records show that Mr. Gossett's property is held in a trust. The nominating petition filed has 24 signatures. 23 of the 24 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach. Mr. Gossett has completed and filed the candidate qualifications affidavit.
I would entertain a motion to certify Commissioner Gossett as a commissioner candidate.
So moved.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the motion carries. Thank you very much. With that, we'll do Commissioner Saunders next. Based on the legal advice provided, I would ask Commissioner Saunders to recuse himself from consideration of this matter, and we'll let the record reflect Commissioner Saunders has recused himself from this item. Taylor?
Mark W. Saunders, a resident property owner of the city of Rehoboth Beach, filed a nominating petition for the office of Commissioner on Wednesday, May 6, 2026 at approximately 10 a.m. Mr. Saunders provided a Delaware driver's license proving that he has attained the age of 21 and shows that he is a full-time resident of Rehoboth Beach. The city's tax records show that Mr. Saunders is a freeholder of property within the city of Rehoboth Beach. The nominating petition filed has 25 signatures. 25 of the 25 signatures were verified to be registered voters of the city of Rehoboth Beach. Mr. Saunders has completed and filed the candidate qualifications affidavit.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion in a second to certify Mark Saunders as a commissioner candidate.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the motion carries. Thank you very much. At this point, we'll go to the members of the public. Is there any members of the public that would like to say something? Tom, you've had your chance. Jeffrey?
Okay, Jeffrey Good, I'm a resident. Well, first, I appreciate that you certified me. I didn't know, I didn't know what was gonna happen, to be honest. But I do have something to say. Just recently, I went to, it was a Rehoboth Pride celebration, and on being an inclusive community and promoting the civil rights of all the citizens. And there is such a great emphasis in making Rehoboth a welcoming place for residents and visitors. And we actually even won an award for that. And it's hard for me to understand that with what you've trying to do by, it hasn't happened yet, but who knows, that you want to really discriminate against married people who want to serve this city. And I know there's two ways of looking at it, but as one of the legislatures said, Rehoboth's like 151 years old, and there was never a reason to do that. And then it was testified that it was sort of random. You decided to just discriminate against married people, and your attorney even said there's no specific person you had in mind. You had me in mind, and you should have been honest about that, and you weren't. And so I'm really sort of disappointed with this whole board, and I hope other people come and makes it a more hospitable and not be so worried you have competition. You're using lawfare against people. That's what you guys are doing. You're using the law to stop people from competing with you. You shouldn't do that.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
One more.
Wait, we gotta be quicker.
I'm getting slow. Hoyt Decker, Laurel Street. So I'd like to pick up on some comments that we heard earlier from Commissioner Galante. And in spite of what someone else had said earlier, I want to direct my comments toward the solicitor, city solicitor. And that is, you know, a driver's license is a driver's license. And it may well indicate information that people, especially police officers, use for their purposes. But I don't know how that establishes that a person is domiciled in the city. I don't understand that. I think it's a flaw. I think it's been pointed out. I don't know how you would resolve the problem. There's a similar situation that has arisen in Ocean City where a city councilman had been questioned about his legitimate residency in the city, and he resigned because it came out that he wasn't not, in fact, a resident. So I don't know how you would move forward on this, but I think it's something you ought to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Hoyt. Thank you, everybody. With that, we're moving on to new business F, discuss and possible consideration of a resolution setting the city's real estate tax rate for the tax year beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30, 2027.
Thank you,
Kevin?
Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, members of the public. Mayor, I know you have control of the screen right now, so if you could pull up the agenda item report, or I have it pulled up on this computer. So there is an agenda item report as well as a resolution included in the agenda for the purposes of considering setting the real estate tax rate for the tax year that begins July 1st, 2026. In the charter, the commissioners set the tax rate in June. And so just a little bit of background, as you can see in the report, we adopted the budget March 20th. The current fiscal year budget, 2027 budget, includes no increase to the real estate tax rate. The budgeted revenue from the 7 3/4 cent per $100 of assessed value is $2,680,396. So the recommendation is to consider setting the real estate tax rate at the 7 3/4 cents. Just one note on the budgeted revenue. So the revenue that we calculated for the purposes of preparing the budget was 0.7%. It was a 0.7% increase in revenue. That was the actual revenue that we saw prior to the increase in the tax rate and the year after we had implemented the tax rate. So for consistency there, looking at those actual numbers, we budgeted 0.7% increase, and that's the $2,680,396. There will be one change that would be next year, and that's assuming that the charter change does go through the General Assembly, and rather than setting the tax rate in June of every year, after this year, it would be done in March as part of the budget process. And that's all I have to report.
All right, thank you. And I just want to make reference to the agenda item there. And the resolution before us is dated June 11th, because I have another one next to my desk that's dated June 18th. Patrick, I think.
Yes, if I may, Mayor. Just having conversations with some of our constituents clarify and be as transparent as possible with this resolution. There was some question about, because the county of Sussex County had done a recent reassessment of properties, and the city of Rehoboth has their own assessment of properties. So to be transparent as possible in the resolution, I would like to add, I don't know if you have that additional slide or not, but to adding on line 22 of the original material, after the word assessed value, just adding the additional language, say, of using, the quote is, using the 2014 City of Rehoboth Beach assessment or subsequent city assessment, just to make it crystal clear that this is the city assessment and not the county assessment that the tax rate will be set upon.
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Good.
But Commissioner Gossett, assuming the General Assembly approves the package that was put before them, unfortunately, it's all or nothing. You know, all about what 18 items were presented as a package. It gives us the option of using the county assessment. So I think we have to be very careful in the language. So if this only applies through June 30th, 2027, you're right, that would be
As it's-
acceptable.
Yes, as it states
So,
on
I
line
guess-
14, the
Okay.
tax year beginning July 1, 2026, and ending June 30th, 2027. And any of charter changes do not take effect until the governor signs the order itself. So this is reflective of what is going on from July 1, 2026 to ending June 30th, 2027, as is stated on line 14, and also within the header of the resolution itself on line 5.
Okay, it's fine. We will need to tweak the language, assuming the General Assembly by Tuesday, June 30th, when their session ends for 2026, approves that, but that's fine. And it's good that the tax, we aren't raising property taxes, and the tax base, because a lot of these new hotels have gotten delayed, sometimes indefinitely, the tax base is not expanding as much as some people were, predicting. So we can't, count on an expanding tax base the way some people might have presented that as about to happen.
Mayor, if I may?
I wanted to go to the
Oh,
public
sure.
first, if that's all right. Is there anybody who would like to comment? Tom?
Mike's getting some good exercise today. Tom Gaynor, stakeholder in Rehoboth. So we're still waiting for our rebate on the improperly passed 30% property increase based on the faulty information when you and Patrick were presiding over this a few years ago. So I'm not sure if we're getting an increase or not, but at the end of the day, we're still paying an inflated increase. And just as an FYI, when I stand here, this is my time. It's protected under the First Amendment. There's no city policy that applies to me and my ability to talk to you at all. So you should know that, Stan, and Ms. Ogden should certainly know that if she were, a lawyer that actually was equipped to advise us.
Tom, that's
So,
uncalled for,
Mayor,
and I
it's
do
not
have,
actually
I
uncalled
do
for.
have the right
It's not uncalled for,
to tell
Stan.
you
This
to
is
shut
my
up.
supreme right
Take a
under the
seat.
First Amendment.
Take a seat.
And my time is my time. I can say anything I want in the 3 minutes, and I'm being civil and giving you critique. You don't like
You
critique,
are-
Stan.
you
You
are-
never have.
you are
And it's one of the
just-
reasons why in 3 months, we'll all be so much better off.
Tom, that's uncalled for.
Uncalled for, Stan.
You're disparaging others,
It's an opinion.
and you show no respect.
You slandered me about the policy.
You don't
That's
have the,
uncalled for,
you
Stan.
do not have the floor anymore.
Right, I know. So stop engaging with me.
All righty. So now, Patrick, if you want to make a,
Thank
we
you.
need somebody to make a motion to adopt the resolution setting the tax, et cetera.
Right, if I, again, make a motion to adopt the resolution to establish the tax on real estate and improvements thereon within the city of Rehoboth Beach for the tax year beginning July 1, 2026, and ending June 30th, 2027.
With your amendment.
With my amendment. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? And the motion's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for your amendment, Patrick. And with that, we go to future agenda topics that was recently updated. That's that spreadsheet. It's embedded in the agenda in the Evergreen calendar. Any comments on those? Remember, you have the opportunity to come directly to me or the city manager and, or here to offer future agenda topics. Review future meeting dates. The next commissioners' meeting is Monday, July 6th at 9 a.m. Also, there's the commissioners' meeting originally scheduled for Monday, September 7th, is being changed to Tuesday, September 8th at 9 a.m. because of the holiday. And then additional citizen comment. This is for off-topic. Anybody have anything? Frank?
Frank Gaynor, owner and rental property owner, and I just want for the record to say that we've had a rental condo on Maryland Avenue for 27 years. This is the best year ever.
Thank you, Frank. Come ahead if you're going to be civil. I'm going to put conditions on it.
Tom
Yes,
Gaynor,
sir.
stakeholder at Rehoboth. So yesterday I watched a very disturbing situation in Dover. This amendment to the charter proposal, which was purportedly proposed by a lawyer, purportedly approved by a lawyer, and then it was purportedly proposed by our state representative in Dover. I can't imagine a more horrible thing than to watch somebody who's the beneficiary of so much work for marriage equality over the last 30 years, let alone the 4 people who are also beneficiaries of marriage equality initiatives on this board, to be the proponent of that. And I spoke against her yesterday at that meeting. But the most disturbing part of that meeting was that we had a paid city employee that was the proponent of a substantive amendment that's very first provision was a discriminatory provision that led off on the package that you all voted as a block. It wasn't the mayor who was in the room, wasn't the elected representatives who were purportedly the authors of such an urgent and necessary body of amendments for the betterment of the people of Rehoboth. Instead, the mayor sat in the gallery, and a paid employee sat and took 4 minutes and worked actively against city taxpayers on our dime. That is profoundly disturbing. Now, we all know that I've had nothing but disgust watching the tenure of this elected executive over the last 6 years. Whichever one of you, or if it's the man who's not in the room, wins and takes that center seat, I hope nothing like what happened yesterday ever happens again. Delaware is the first state of the constitutional republic, and in the 250th year of this republic, you put forward a discriminatory set of amendments, and you had a paid employee carry your water. Profiles encourage all. Despicable.
Anybody else? If not, we'll move on to commissioner announcements. I'd like to start off by reminding everybody that at the previous meeting, I had mentioned the Poodle Beach historical marker was scheduled for Saturday, June 27th, 9 a.m. That has been canceled by the Delaware Public Archives folks. There's been a problem with installation and engineering, so it'll be rescheduled for another date into the future. And so we'll need to get the word out, and there's been a lot of invitations sent. Otherwise, are there any other commissioner announcements? Commissioner Thier?
Yes, I'd like to thank Chief Banks and the others within his department for supporting the Special Olympics Law Enforcement Torch Run, both on Wednesday when they came in town and ran into town, had their presentation and ran out. I saw the mayor there, so Mayor, I thank you for coming and supporting as well as all the residents who came, all the tourists. It was great when the law enforcement, and it's police, it's corrections officers, it's just really everyone. When they ran into town, it was great. The tourists all stopped, applauded. People getting ice cream was just really a great event. So again, thank you for supporting that.
Anybody else? Commissioner Good?
Mr. Mayor and fellow commissioners, I think it's important that the public who are not aware of what went down, I believe April 6th, become aware. An unelected city employee, the city solicitor, pushed charter changes as a package in spite of the opposition, in my view, of at least 4 of us, or certainly the shock that this would be that we wouldn't have an opportunity to consider all of these separately again, especially because the language in one of these charter changes was being edited in real time during the meeting. So the city solicitor had an agenda, I'm certain of that. And unfortunately, it is leading us
Suzanne,
to
this is appropriate.
So
With that,
I need
I
to
adjourn the
discuss,
meeting at
I need to discuss
4:23
yesterday's
PM.
meeting in Dover, which I too attended, where you